Help! A gland has exploded!
Greetings, all you supple, strat-loving sluts. Den here. A couple weeks ago, I did a famous Les Paul tier list. And I don't want to sound like I'm up my own butt, but seems like quite a few people enjoyed it. So this week, we're gonna do a famous Stratocaster tier list. I've got about 20 of some of the most famous Stratocasters in existence, and we're gonna rank them all today. Yeah, that's right. You think you're excited? You should see my nipples. Now calm down. I'm gonna say it right now. There's definitely some that I missed, okay? I can't get all of them, so please don't kill me if I missed your favorite. I just made a list of 20 of the first ones that came to my mind. I definitely didn't get them all. Like John Frusciante's Strat. That's one of the ones I missed, and I don't know how I missed it because that's one of my favorite Strats. But I missed it, and I just realized that. Go me. I didn't get every single famous Les Paul either in the other video. So don't freak out that I missed Bluefus Clunt's famous 1967 Seaman White Strat. It just means that if we go on to enjoy this video, we've got plenty of ammo for a potential part 2. You know what? You're gonna do it anyway, so just go ahead and let me know which ones I missed in the comments. Let me have it. That way I can make a list for that potential part 2. Now, for those of you that are new here, I should probably let you guys know that I am a dirty, dirty Les Paul boy. Yeah, I know. But there are a lot of Strats out there that I love and respect. However, I'm not nearly as much of a nerd about Strats, so I'm not really gonna focus on like the year that the guitar was made or the specs of the guitar, because your guys' stuff is weird. I'm sorry. You guys are quirky. You guys got like V-shaped necks and about a billion different pickups that are all supposed to sound like a Strat. But hey, I can't judge. Les Paul headstocks break easier than a pro-life argument. They weigh about as much as a cruise ship. And our billion-dollar corporation is a litigious little baby about literally everything. It's so embarrassing. I should also mention that besides a few key exceptions, I only really like Strats when they look like they've lost a fight. I like them looking like they dated Chris Brown, or Diddy, or Andrew Tate, or Amber Heard. The more beat a Strat looks, the better in my opinion. The clean ones they're just kind of boring. I'm sorry, guys. It's important I say that because this tier list isn't really ranking their importance to like the music world or whatever. I'm more so ranking how aroused I get when I look at these guitars. Which brings me to the tiers. We've got about 6 tiers that we're gonna be using today. At the top spot, we've got I Need a Bucket. These are for my favorite Stratocasters in existence. I need a bucket to contain the waves that these guitars bring. If I don't get a bucket, stuff's gonna get ruined from flood damage. Below that, we have I'm Soaked. These ones aren't quite exactly my favorite, but they still do get me moister than an oyster. Up next, we have I'm Damp. These are for the ones that raise the humidity in the room up a considerable amount, but they aren't really anything to write home about either. After that, we have I'm Dry. These are for the ones that I don't really like, but I also don't really have anything against them either. They're just kind of there. They're mid. Second to last, we have I'm the Sahara. These are for Stratocasters that are actively dehydrating me. However, they still aren't the worst because those are reserved for the bottom tier, which is I'm Ben Shapiro's wife. If Cottonmouth, a Popeye's Biscuit, and the Atacama Desert in Chile all got together and had a baby, it still would not be as dry as these guitars. So let's get into this, shall we? And we are gonna start off with a banger, I tell you what, because the first one we are gonna be ranking is Stevie Ray Vaughan's #1 Strat. And I'm just gonna say it right now. That's my favorite Strat, probably in existence. And like, just look at it, dude. It's beautiful. This thing looked like it got dragged by its thong for most of its life. Like, Stevie Ray Vaughan had to refret his guitar once a year. Do you understand how fucked up that is? This dude's mammoth hands pressed down on his 14 gauge strings so hard that he wore through frets in a year. The neck on this guitar was originally a 7¼ inch radius, but it ended up having a 10-inch radius from all the refretting. Stevie Ray Vaughan was basically playing an Ibanez neck at a certain point. Think about that the next time you're trying to fall asleep. He put a left-handed tremolo on there so he could emulate Jimi Hendrix because he was a real big fan of Jimi Hendrix. But yeah, when it comes to Stevie Ray Vaughan and his #1 guitar that he called his wife, I definitely need a bucket every time I see that guitar. We are not done with the Stevie Ray Vaughan guitars though. Up next we have Lenny. That kind of makes me sad. My family had a bearded dragon. We named her Leonard, but at the time we didn't know she was a girl. So eventually we all just started calling her Lenny, and she passed away a few months ago, so that's kind of sad. I miss my Lenny. However, this is Stevie Ray Vaughan's Lenny, which he named after his wife, because if I recall correctly, his wife got this for him for one of his birthdays. While Lenny has a pretty sweet story, not really exactly one of my favorite Strats if I'm being honest, so I think Lenny goes into the I'm Damp category. Alright, up next we've got this booger of a human being. We have Yngwie Malmsteen and his Play Loud Loud Duck Strat. Some people call it the Play Loud Strat, some people call it the Duck Strat, and I don't know, man. This guitar just gets to me. I love a nice yellowed out white Strat. I believe this is the one that he came to America with, and he just beat the piss out of this guitar over the years. It's got one of the big 70s headstocks with the bullet truss rod, and it's Yngwie Malmsteen, so the frets are scalloped to all hell. But yeah, it makes sense how beat up this guitar is when you look at how he displays his guitars. Like, he's just got them all leaning up against a bunch of amps and against each other. What an animal. While Yngwie Malmsteen's Play Loud Strat is very cool and is one of my favorite Strats, he's known to be a little bit of a butthole. So I can't really say do you see this Les Paul just hanging right there also? This guy's a menace. He can afford stands. Like, they're not that expensive. Yeah, I don't necessarily need a bucket when I see Yngwie Malmsteen and his Play Loud Strat. However, it still gets me pretty soaked. So I think Yngwie's Play Loud Strat is gonna go into the I'm soaked category. Up next, we have Rory Gallagher and his number one Strat. This is another tobacco burst Strat that is somehow even more beat up than SRV's number one. Some people might not even know it was a tobacco burst Strat just because of how beat up his guitar actually was. I was almost positive that bro was just sitting there with some sandpaper just fucking going crazy, you know? But the last video I made, I was just kind of talking about aged and relic guitars in general, and I got a comment about Rory Gallagher's Strat, and apparently he started crying when he realized the finish was starting to wear on his favorite Strat. So I guess it's not all relic. I guess that is all natural wear, which is crazy. Rory Gallagher and his Beat to Hell Strat definitely get me a little soaked. Up next, we've got Robin Trower and his red Stratocasters. So Robin Trower is a G. When I was younger, my dad listened to a lot of Jimi Hendrix and Robin Trower, so I know some Robin Trower. Like, when the band is named after just the guitar player, you've got some aura. However, his signature Strats are just like a cherry red or a cherry red burst Strat. I mean, the abalone inlays is a neat little touch, and I mean, it's cool. I like that's like a nice red, even though red sucks. I like that red. However, it's not really that beat up. I would prefer it to be a lot more beat up. I think it would get a better ranking if it was more beat up. Robin Trower is an absolute G, but when it comes to his Stratocasters, I'm just kind of dry when I'm looking at him. But Robin Trower's a fucking G. Up next, we have Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 and his signature Strats. I don't know dick about this guitar, if I'm being real. I like Blink-182, but I never really became like a big nerd about Tom DeLonge and his guitars. I don't know. It looks like it's like a parts caster of sorts. He's got a Seymour Duncan Invader pickup in there. It's a hardtail too, and he's got like a whole range of colors for his signature Strat. Like one pickup, one volume knob, hardtail. Like, if you just looked at this guitar without knowing who Tom DeLonge is, you'd probably think he was a metal player. But I know Aguifish really loves Tom DeLonge, and he gave his signature guitar like a pretty bad review. I think he just got like a lemon, but I didn't really hear many good things about the quality of the Tom DeLonge signature Strats, unfortunately. I like the yellow version because it kind of looks like an aged white Strat, but god damn it, is it gonna keep doing that? The yellow one's cool. All the rest of them are kind of mid. I guess Tom DeLonge and his signature, I swear to fucking God if it keeps doing this. Every time I move, it just like scrolls this up or down, and I'm gonna lose my shit if it's gonna do this the entire time. And then I can't get it back where it was. Okay, I think Tom DeLonge keeps moving. I'm gonna fucking... Tom DeLonge and his Strats are just kind of dry for me. Up next, we got another banger. We got Jeff Beck and his white Strats. Jeff Beck is another guy who's got some aura. I tell you what, the sounds this guy can make with his fingers and a whammy bar is fucked. That being said, I'm more of a fan of Jeff Beck than I am a fan of his guitars. Yeah, it's just like it's like a cream Strat, so it's not like a heavy aged yellow white Strat. I almost said Alpine white, but that's a Gibson thing. You Fender folks say Olympic white. The upside down headstock does add a little bit of clout, but I don't think that's on every single one of his Strats. Jeff Beck is a goat, but his white Strats are just I guess they do get me a little damp, but it's not really anything crazy. Now we're getting into the weeds here. We got Mr. Eric Clapton and his Blackie. If I remember the story, Eric Clapton in like the 70s, he bought 6 Strats for like $100 each. I think he gave one to like George Harrison, and then he gave 2 others to 2 of his other friends or artists. And then he used the best parts from the 3 other Strats, and he built this guitar that he calls Blackie. Yeah, if you've somehow never listened to Eric Clapton before, you can tell he enjoyed his solos based off the wear on his neck. This picture's a little blurry, but you can see all the wear on his maple maple neck, and then most of the wear was on the back of the guitar. Front of the guitar has only got a few little chips and dings here and there. The name is a little questionable though. Like, I know he calls it Blackie because it's a black guitar, but just imagine hearing Eric Clapton talk about this guitar without knowing that he's talking about his guitar. Oh yeah, I was really hard on Blackie today, so I just threw him back into his case for the night. I don't think it's beat up enough on the front to where I need a bucket, but Eric Clapton's Blackie definitely gets me pretty soaked. But that's not the only Eric Clapton guitar we're talking about. We've also got his Brownie guitar as well. Yeah, he's not beating any racist allegations with these names, but I mean, if you actually look at the guitars, it makes sense why he calls them that. Brownie was his first Strat, I believe. This is the guitar he played Layla on. A lot of wear on the maple fretboard, a lot of yellowing around the pickups for some reason. That's kind of gross. Brownie is pretty dang cool, but I don't think Brownie has as much clout as Blackie does. Yeah, Brownie goes into the I'm damp category, and this thing just keeps fucking moving. I wish I could just lock this into place. If I lock it into place, then I can't move the pictures around. We've got another absolute G. We got Buddy Guy and his polka dot Strats. I love Buddy Guy. It was sick that him and Kingfish got to be in Sinners. His signature guitars are always these polka dot Strats. And I remember my grandpa is the one who like got me into Buddy Guy, and he used to always talk about the polka dot Strats. Now the black guitar with white polka dots is probably his most famous one. While I love Buddy Guy, the polka dot Strat doesn't do too much for me unless it's his original polka dot Strat. That's a good looking guitar right there. The wear and tear just makes it perfect. Like, if these old Strats didn't age the way they do, I don't think I'd like Strats at all, if I'm being honest. This is more of like a damp, dry situation, but I'll rank it as like his original polka dot Strat. So Buddy Guy and his original polka dot Strat get me pretty dang soaked. Moving on to a very different type of music from Buddy Guy's music, we have Jim Root and his signature Strat. For those of you that don't know, Jim Root is the guitar player for Slipknot, and I think his signature Strats are fucking sick. There's a music go-round that's somewhat local to me, and one day they got one of these Jim Root black Fender Strats in, and I think it was my favorite Strat that I've ever played. It just felt so nice. It's a nice, sleek, flat black. Yeah, they come with the bigger 70s headstock, and boom, there's also a white version with a maple neck, and they just look so sick. The Telecasters and the Jazzmasters look sick too. But when I see Jim Root and his signature Stratocasters, I definitely need a bucket. This next one's a doozy. Up next, we have Eddie Van Halen and his Frankenstrat. I love the Frankenstrat. I love the story of this guitar. It's a parts caster. The neck and the body are factory seconds from the San Dimas factory. This humbucker pickup was a PAF from a 335, I believe. He dipped it in wax. He was the first person to ever wax pot a pickup, put a Floyd Rose on it. He's got the 1971 coin that he used to stop the Floyd Rose, but eventually he stopped doing that. All this stuff up here doesn't actually work. It's had a ton of different necks throughout the years. This pick guard was originally cut out of a record, I believe, but then eventually he got like an actual pick guard and he just chopped it up. Something that some people probably still might not know, his white Strat with the black stripes that he used in the first Van Halen album, this is that guitar. What happened was people started copying him, and so he retaped it and then painted it red, and that's how he got this look. It's literally between this and Stevie Ray Vaughan's #1 for my favorite Strats on planet Earth. So obviously whenever I see Eddie Van Halen and his Frankenstrat, I need a bucket. And when Van Halen got back with David Lee Roth, I was this close to seeing Van Halen live. But they canceled the show because David Lee Roth is a twat that can't cooperate with anybody. So thanks, jackass. Up next, oh my god, it keeps moving. Up next, we have Ritchie Blackmore and his white Strats. His white Strats are a little bit different than everybody else's. Ritchie Blackmore was in Deep Purple. He was guitar player for Ronnie James Dio in Rainbow. You don't even have to be a guitar player to know the Smoke on the Water riff. This guy created that riff. Isn't that fucking crazy? Yeah, Ritchie Blackmore is a G. And his Les Pauls, not Les Pauls, this isn't a Les Paul video. His Strats are just kind of like this cream white Strat, but just putting the black knobs and the black pickups, it's like such a subtle change, but it helped those guitars like stick out as Ritchie Blackmore's Strats. But I think they'd look a lot better if they were beat up, so I think Ritchie Blackmore goes into the damp category. Are you fucking kidding me? Up next, we have George Harrison and his Rocky Strat. Here you go, Rocky. I know how much you like wieners. George Harrison was a Beatle man, and I didn't really even know that much about this guitar until I made this video, but it is pretty dang quirky. So it originally was, do you guys call it Daphne blue? I think you guys call this Daphne blue. It was this color blue, and eventually George Harrison painted these weird psychedelic colors because it was the time to do that, I suppose. But I can't really lie when I say that looking at this guitar makes me drier than Ben Shapiro's wife. Well, I don't know. Do I want to say that? Do I really want to be mean to any guitar? I'm gonna have an aneurysm. It's between I'm the Sahara and I'm Ben Shapiro's wife. I feel like this tier should be reserved for when I want to be like actively mean. And I don't think I want to be actively mean to this guitar. I don't like it, but I don't like hate it either. It goes into I'm drier than the Sahara. Yeah, George Harrison and his Rocky Strat get me drier than the Sahara. I'm sorry. Moving on, John Mayer and his Black One Stratocaster. It looks like he played this guitar every single day since he was born, but that's not the case. Black One is not an old guitar at all. It was a Fender custom shop guitar that he had them make for him. Can't lie, I genuinely don't give a shit that it's a Fender custom shop and it's not an old guitar. Like, here's another picture of it. I think this guitar looks sick. I can't lie. I wish he still played it. He's busy with PRS. He doesn't need this guitar anymore. I'll take it off your hands, John. I don't need a bucket. I'm not necessarily soaked. I would say John Mayer's Black One makes me pretty damp. Up next, we've got another absolute G. We've got David Gilmour and his Black Strat. If you look at a lot of these Strats, they're just a white Strat or a tobacco burst Strat or a black Strat. And the artist just did subtle little changes or beat the piss out of it to where it just became its own thing. Yeah, David Gilmour is a guitarist slash singer, most prominently known for Pink Floyd, and his guitar solos are some of my favorite guitar solos on planet Earth, dude. And this is his famous Fender Stratocaster. I believe Christie's auctioned it off for like $3 million or something crazy like that. Oh, I was a little off. It sold in June 2019 for almost $4 million fucking dollars. Holy shit. For that. That's crazy. Who did that? It's a cool Strat, don't get me wrong. I like the little bits of wear that it has. Yeah, the Black Strat is a pretty famous Stratocaster. It's definitely one of the most expensive ones, and I love David Gilmour, but this Strat really doesn't do a whole lot for me. I can't lie to you guys. Despite my love for David Gilmour and Pink Floyd, when I look at the Black Strat, I am rather dry. I'm sorry, guys. There's 4 guitars left, and 2 of the ones we're gonna look at are associated with another one of the GOATs. This is Mr. Jimi Hendrix and his Olympic White Fender Strat. For those of you that don't know, somehow, I don't know what you're doing here if you don't know this, but Jimi Hendrix was a left-handed player, so he had a right-handed Strat that he played upside down and then he just strung it normally. But usually when you ask someone who the greatest guitar player ever is, they're either gonna say Eddie Van Halen or they're gonna say Jimi Hendrix. Both of those are the correct answer if you ask me. Love Jimi Hendrix. I love this white Strat. It's the one that he played the Star Spangled Banner on, and I find it very funny that a lot of people don't understand he intentionally butchered the Star Spangled Banner because he was protesting the war in Vietnam. He intentionally threw his guitar out of tune, and throughout the performance he's using his guitar to try and emulate the sounds of an aircraft dropping bombs or a machine gun going off. Jimi Hendrix and his white Woodstock Strat easily get me soaked to the point to where I need a bucket. The other Jimi Hendrix Strat we're gonna look at is his Black Strat. This one I think he played more often, and I feel like he's more, I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up. Which one do you guys think is more famous? Why don't you go down there and leave a comment. Is this actually a picture of the guitar, or is it a painting? I don't even know. This is supposed to be his Black Strat. It's got a little bit more wear than the white one. I don't think I like the Black Strat quite as much as I like his white Strat, but still, I absolutely need a bucket. Up next, we have Mr. Cory Wong and his signature blue Strat. Is this a painting too? Or does it just have like a weird filter on it? So yeah, Cory Wong is a very quirky guitar player. He does that like kind of shit, you know what I'm saying. And yeah, he just plays a blue Fender Strat. And even though it is my favorite color, it's still a pretty boring looking Strat. I don't understand why this one's so expensive. Like, does it cure cancer? I don't understand. And it's a modern day Strat, so it's sealed in plastic essentially, and it's just not gonna get all worn and beat up and aged like how a Strat should be. Even though it's blue and Cory Wong's a pretty cool guitar player, I'm the Sahara when I see this guitar. The blue can't save it. Last one, I don't know what to call this one. So this is Leo Fender. He's the guy that literally made the Strat. I don't know if this is the first Strat, but I wanted the last one to be just the first Fender Stratocaster. And I don't know if this is the actual first Fender Stratocaster, but when I just Googled the first Fender Stratocaster, this is one of the pictures that popped up. So it's the first Fender Stratocaster. Like, do you guys understand how popular these guitars are? Like, whenever someone thinks of an electric guitar, more likely than not, the first thing that's gonna pop up in their head is gonna be a Fender Stratocaster. I wouldn't be here making this dumbass video if it wasn't for the first Fender Stratocaster. So Leo Fender and the first Stratocaster, absolutely get me soaked. It's the first Strat in existence, and that alone gets me soaked. Not exactly the point to where I need a bucket, but I'm soaked in like in appreciation. I guess that's it. Yeah, there are a few down there that I think are pretty boring and actively dry me out, but as you can see, even though I'm a Les Paul guy, none of these guitars made me drier than Ben Shapiro's wife. But yeah, I think that is gonna wrap up my tier list for 20 of the most famous Stratocasters in existence. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. Make sure you go down there and leave a comment. I am very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one. We don't talk about Strats too much here on Den Den BMX, so I am very curious to see what you guys have to say. Share the video around, smack that like button like it owes you a Fender Stratocaster, and if you regularly watch my channel and you haven't already subscribed, then your Strat belongs in the drier than Ben Shapiro's wife category, because you and your Strat are making me drier than Ben Shapiro's wife. Real quick, I want to give a big shout out and a thank you to Cosmic Steez, A Horse Running, Solar Flare, Rob Heath, Bad Joe Guitars, Brandon's Ballast on Corner, Bandage Knives, Jan Chocolate, Leagues Beneath, Scott Toman, Master Chief, and Big Tills. These honeys are my current channel members and their support really does mean a lot. If you want to join them, get a shout out in my longer videos, get access to the members only videos, and just help support this channel in a bigger way, then you can go down there, click the join button. Tiers start as low as 3 schmeckles. There's also the super thanks button down there if you just want to give me some money. But I'm done being a tool. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, bitch.